this video is about some ways that when you're targeted, that you lose money, and in a way, your employer, their investment in you as an employee is lost, and if you're on any kind of benefits, the money is lost. When we were at the Veterans Homeless Shelter Hotel, we were put in two different rooms. Both of them had bad refrigerators that would shut off all the time. 1 minute food would be frozen, the next minute it'd be completely thawed. And sometimes food would be chilled like it's supposed to be. Other times the refrigerator would shut off and our food would spoil. And we told the hotel manager and some of the employees about this, and they said, yeah, that's the way that most of them are. That's the way they're supposed to be. And I said, to shut off and spoil the food? Oh yeah, if it's a problem, maybe we can look at it. And I asked them to look at it, and they said, we don't have any more refrigerators. So they said, well, I guess you'll just have to, not put stuff in there to be chilled. That happened at two rooms. And the second room was the room that the air conditioner hadn't been cleaned in years, so I had to vacuum it out. Yeah, we brought our own vacuum because I saw how they clean there. That's the place where I got COVID, and it put me in the hospital. They don't clean very well, and so I cleaned my own room. And I vacuumed out the air conditioner, cleaned it with alcohol and with bleach solution, bleach water. And then with antiseptic spray on the filters. And also, the bed that I slept on, it looked like somebody was shot and they bled out on. It was disgusting. So I put on gloves, I think it was plastic bags on both hands, and I bleached the entire mattress. But that being said, now the place we're in, the same thing happens with both refrigerators. Our food will spoil. The most common thing to spoil is meat, because it's already all the big grocery stores. I don't know about the smaller ones. I don't really buy meat at smaller ones. And we don't buy meat that much anyway. Probably more fish than meat. Maybe once or twice a month we'll get like chicken or turkey. Minus breakfast sausage and stuff. I'm speaking of, whole meats, whole grains, and whole meats. But anyway, large pieces, poundage type meat. They'll shut off all the time. And if something's already thawed and you cook it and your freezer or your refrigerator shuts off, when you eat your food, you're going to taste it. It's like, the way I describe it is, it's like it would taste if you had a wet, dirty sock, like after, you were out in the snow and you had, your feet got wet or something. That's the taste in the meat. Now, how do I know that it tastes like that? Because I was a little kid and preteen, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, up to a teenager, that I was always outside in the snow. So I know what that tastes like, because using my teeth to pull my socks off when I'm taking off my snow gear. I was a kid, you do stuff like that. And then you smell it on your hands. That's the smell of this meat. And in our house we call it twice thawed. When it's twice thawed, you may or may not eat it. It may get thrown away. But if it's been cooked, it doesn't matter if it's cooked or uncooked, actually. If it's twice thawed, there's a good chance it's probably going to get tossed. So that happens. And then, don't ask me how, but both of our microwaves Um, they don't heat food properly. We have one microwave that only heats the outer edge. If you got a bowl in there, it'll only heat the outer edge. That's it. Somebody tampered with it, which means there may be radiation flying around in here if they open that shield around the microwave emitter. Once that seal is broken, that's opened up, it may not function properly, which means we're being irradiated. I mean, if that, is what happened. But that's the case with both of our microwaves. Actually, I take it back. The smaller microwave that we bought ourselves, the other one is supplied by the property. The other microwave we bought ourselves, it only heats in a very small section of the bowl. But that one's been tampered with too. Because all of them, the amount of time to cook stuff it's chaotic at best. And they don't heat properly. They don't defrost properly. And we've been told, oh, this is all new stuff, but it's not. There's no receipt. There's no stickers. None of it's new. I don't trust the current property we live. I don't know the landlords. I don't know the property management company, except that I know that their local branch, I don't trust those people. They have a track record of not hiring honest, truthful, unbiased, ethical people. There's one person there now. I don't really know her. But that being said, this is also maintenance thing. One hand may not know what the other hand's doing, so to speak. But that's a way that a lot of money gets wasted. A lot of money, especially with meat. Last week we threw away, I paid almost $14 for 4 pounds of chicken, and we threw away about half of it because after it was cooked by day 2, it already had the twice thawed taste, like wet, dirty socks. So I threw it away, and this happens quite often. I think I got food that I've caught it before it's, started to go bad. Because they do this all the time. They take it in the back, they freeze it, they bring it out there, and they put it back in the display case and it thaws again. A lot of the chain grocery stores do this. And I've talked to several workers that work in the meat section. They're like, yeah, usually daily or a couple of times a week, this stuff that's been brought out here and thawed out once or twice, and we donate it. I don't know where they donate it to. But I've been to the soup kitchen several times, and I don't see that the hundreds of pounds of meat, so I don't know where it goes. But but some of this kind of fits with the local extremist group. They tried even bring it up in a setting of a bunch of strangers sitting around on the bus, in a grocery store, in a waiting room. They try to hammer down the thing about meats and how, they're so bad to buy meats at stores, and they just go into this whole, it's like scripted. And this local extremist group is actually famous for this. And they even bully their members into becoming vegan. That's, like I've always said, generally people that don't fit in with the group that they're a part of is because they're lonely, they're alienated, they're looking for meaning. And predator groups that are high control, high focus, they take advantage of people like this. I know, because I've had family in a group that displays a lot of cultic activity, and other times it's some of the things they do is very, very close. And we've had friends of the family who've been in destructive, racially based cults. Some very good people that I've got to know. So, I know all about this stuff, besides studying it since high school, extremist groups, ideological groups, I've been studying them since high school. But so the fact of the matter is, when you're in this kind of a situation, they control, you're financially captive, so you can't just go out and buy something. I can't even buy continuous glucose monitors and my sugar, my charting. Yeah, I do graphs of my sugar. That's just who I am. Detail oriented, scientific. That's just who I am. And it looks like a freaking roller coaster. It really does. So, but I got to pay for it myself. Because even though, the VA could give it to me, they refuse to. They refuse to look at the full criteria, the full procedure and rules regarding continuous glucose monitors, and they ignore the 3 different sections that deal with people like me who could give them. They completely ignore them. It's arbitrary, just like the power chair thing. I have videos about that. People given power chairs that if you can carry your power chair, you probably shouldn't have one. Not when the VA or Medicaid is footing the bill, or a charity. No, you probably shouldn't have one. Well, that being said, I don't control this. But I do control the food in my house. And I'm just, hopefully this will help people, come to a realization like, hey, you know what? Our food's not cooking properly either. They said that's a brand new microwave. Why do we have to keep reheating stuff again and again? And it's not cooked evenly, even though it has a rotator, a dish. The dish is so that it cooks evenly. If you have a dish and it's not cooking evenly, like I said, the one from the property that only heats on the outside, probably about, I would say about a half an inch of the outside of a bowl. Everything else, the temperature doesn't change. Something's been messed with. Because the whole purpose of those rotating dishes is for even irradiation. So, that being said, maybe you can choose, appropriately. Maybe go a little bit more vegan. Or if you have to, hopefully you're not financially captive like us. And people, in your complex destroy your car. And neither the complex, nor HUD-VASH, nor Becca, nor the police department do anything about it. You lose a vehicle that has about $4,000 invested into it, it's gone. And then people blame you, well, you should have carried full coverage. Why would I carry full coverage on a vehicle that's how old was it? 13 years old? I shouldn't have to anyway. When you're on a voucher, these housing agencies and even some of the government offices, they let properties off too easily, Now I understand if you're in a single, family dwelling that's a home, you're renting a home, that's a little different, but you can totally control your security there. But when you're in a condo building, an apartment building, a townhome, you don't have as much control over security because you share a wall with people. And people may even share an attic, like in our place. There's one attic for the entire building, and it's barely separated. So that means that, the property is responsible for security. But sadly, nobody's holding people accountable. But yet they reap the benefits of housing vouchers, making sometimes tens of thousands of dollars a month off veterans and people who are trying to put their life together. But that being said, we're focusing on the food issue. Again, that just shop outside of the county. That way you have a little more control over food. Buy your meat somewhere, your fish and meat somewhere where it's frozen and it hasn't been thawed. Look for signs of thawing, like if you find little droplets of ice, it's been thawed. If you find stuff clumped together, it may have been thawed. Because when they throw the seafood in there, it's all separated, and then they do instant freezing inside of a really, really cold freezer at a dock. Stuff doesn't generally, clump together. Let's see. Again, if you see condensation inside the bag that's frozen to the bag, it's been thawed. And then you open it, and it has a strange smell that's not just fishy, but like a sweet fishy smell, like maple syrup in a fishy smell. It's probably been thawed. Um, that's all I could say. And maybe get more thawing resistant type food like shrimps, calamaris, some fatty fishes you should avoid. More protein fish lasts a little longer after it's been thawed. Let's see. That's probably the best advice I can give. Go with your more your breasts. Stay away from your organ meats because they start to deteriorate the minute that they're cut out. Yeah, I guess that's about it. And if anything has blood, expect it to if it ever leaves the 30 to 40 degree temperature range, expect it to be partially deteriorated. So that includes your gizzards, your chicken's feet, your turkey feet, all of that stuff. It starts to deteriorate very quickly. Any soft tissue stuff is going to deteriorate quickly. So hopefully I help people, to save money, because taxpayers pay money, because, we all know that sometimes people fall and they need help. And then, some people, maybe they're disabled, so they need time to adjust to being disabled and to get their, situation resolved, maybe litigation, or a disability claim. So most taxpayers, maybe not with a smile, but they pay taxes for welfare systems. Because, it takes a community to raise a child. It takes a village. And the same thing to keep a family afloat when they're in crisis is also a village. And if we're going to start turning on each other and saying, well, why am I paying for that family across the street? I don't even like them because I don't like the dad. He's too serious. Or I don't like them because they're this race. Or I don't like the mom because she's such a goody two-shoes type. If we become like that, then we start to fragment our very society, and then we fragment the American dream. So there's a time when if we all stand upright and we provide the means for others to stand upright and to change their life, hopefully everybody being ethical and righteous and doing the right thing, then we can all stand together. But if we can't, that which is divided will fall. President Lincoln said that. So hopefully I've given, some ideas to people how they can save money and how they can, use the money that's given by whatever source. Use it to, really benefit their family and use it wisely to budget it without anything being wasted.